Varun, to set context, help me understand the fundamental business model of a hospital and how does a hospital make money?
So, first of all, thanks for having me on the podcast. I've been watching the show for a while, so it's a little surreal that I'm on it today. In India, right, it takes about 2 crores a bed for you to make a hospital. Okay, now the cost in that is land, construction, equipment, medicines, and people. Approximately 20% each item.
2 crores per bed.
2 crores per bed. So if you are building a 500 bed hospital, at ribbon cutting inauguration, you are out 1,000 crores. Okay. Now, what happens is that these are typically debt funded businesses. So they need money from day one. So how do you get revenue from day one, right? The related issue they have is that there is no real differentiation, right? They all have similar buildings, similar doctors. Everybody, where you go as a patient, you wait 3 hours. You have no idea what the bill is, why it'll be. Only guarantee is whatever they say the bill is, it's not going to be that. It'll be much more than that, right? So for a patient, they have no real way to decide where to go. So they default to whichever doctor they have heard of, right? Which then propagates this whole thing saying that patients come for doctors because there's nothing else to decide upon.
Correct.
Right? So now because of that, the fastest way for a hospital to make money is to hire doctors who already have an existing patient base. It's kind of like demand acquisition. Right? Now, why should this doctor come to you? He's already happy at a hospital he's at because he's at some hospital. So you'll go to them and lure him with money and say, hey, I'll give you 20% commission on whatever revenue you make, which is roughly 20, 22, 23% is the industry average. Let's say there is a doctor who's in his department, the total patient bill generation is 20 crores. So 20% means he's making 4 crores, right? Because the doctor has been forced into this commission structure.
Correct.
Now, I will tell him, hey, you please join my hospital. So with some negotiation, he will come to my hospital. But like any normal human being who changes a job, he is not going to come at a pay cut, right?
Correct.
So I have to give him what he was making at least. But it's not like on day one, the same revenue will transition. It will take some time. Some patients will stay back. Not everybody will move. This hospital will be further away. Variety of reasons. So there is typically a 6 to 9 month grace period given to this doctor.
Okay.
And this 20% that is given, so let's say whatever 20 crores means 4 crores, say 30 lakh rupees a month, is called a minimum guarantee, which means that whether any patient comes or not, I guarantee that I will pay you this much every month.
4 crores.
4 crores a year, right? Now, obviously, the implied thing there is that you have to make at least 5x the revenue from the minimum guarantee. Right?
Correct.
So there is a metric that hospitals track very closely called minimum guarantee recovery.
Minimum guarantee recovery.
Minimum guarantee is MG. So they have a metric called MG recovery. There is a guy in the unit operations whose only job every day is to look at doctor names and see what are we paying him and how much is he recovering for us. Right?
Was it your job as the chief revenue officer?
I mean, kind of, yes, right? Like, I mean, obviously we have unit teams and stuff, but that's part of the job, right? That's how you do diagnosis of whether the hospital is making money or not, right? You kind of get then and so kind of like self-reflection, but
MG recovery.
MG recovery, right? So now what happens is, let's say you start a new hospital. So 6 months before commissioning, so let's say you spend this 1,000 crores, right? 6 months before commissioning. Commissioning is when you see the first patient. There will be a unit CEO. Unit CEO will have a unit marketing head in his team. Whoever is in charge, these people are in charge of that hospital. They will go out in the market and find all the doctors in the neighborhood or in adjacent areas who are making XYZ revenue. They will make a short list of that. Okay. Note that nobody here is discussing clinical skills. Okay. They're saying, okay, are you a doctor? How much money are you making for the hospital you're in? And then they will be put on a short list. Then this team will try to convince them to join this hospital, right? With some stuff like we said, he has now joined the hospital. Now this MG recovery, all this is in place. There is a guy who's tracking this. 6 to 9 months later, someone like me will show up in that hospital and say, boss, you're not on a revenue plan. What's going on? Because I'm the business guy. So I'll talk to the CEO and review and talk to him. So iska diagnosis kaise hota hai, right? First question, what is the OP footfall, which means outpatient, which means how many people are coming for consultation, diagnostics, tests, all that, right?
So this is asked by the business guy?
So business guy to the unit
doctors.
CEO. To the unit CEO.
Okay.
Doctors are not in the picture, right? We're diagnosing, right? So we're saying, okay, do you have enough OP footfall? Outpatient, which means not admitted, but people coming for consultations. Okay. India is so supply constrained that if you make a half decent hospital, the footfall is never a problem. You have to do something really wrong to not have hospital OPD full. So this is never a problem. The second question they ask is, what is your outpatient to inpatient conversion? It's literally tracked like a funnel, dude. Okay. So typical industry is 8 to 12%. So let's say 10% is your OP to IP conversion.
But
IP
how
means-
is there an industry standard for this?
I mean, everybody knows what is the conversion happening in the industry, right? So you need some benchmark, right? So you say, okay, it's 10%, let's say. Now you'll say, okay, if the industry is at 10%, let's say I'm a group with 10, 20 hospitals. I have a group average of generally what is the conversion in my group. So I will tell that unit, you're saying if my group and the industry is 10%, why are you at 6%? Okay, fair question. Think of it like a sales conversion funnel. Think of it, it's exactly like that. Okay. So then how will we diagnose why are we at this? They will say, okay, now show me this number by doctors.
Okay.
So they'll put every doctor's name, and in front of that, they will put what is the OPIP conversion.
Okay.
And everybody who's less than 10%, the CEO will call that doctor and talk to him and say, you need to fix this. So what you need to fix this means what? Right? If he's an orthopedist, you're going to get a knee replacement.
So we have doctor 1, doctor 2, doctor 3. What
Right.
is the outpatient to inpatient
ratio, right? So this ratio has now been looked at, and the doctors who are below a certain threshold are having a conversation with the unit CEO, saying that you need to fix this. So fix this means you have to prescribe more surgeries, all that, right? Remember, he is under pressure already because he has come on this MG model because they are not willing to give him a salary model. Of course not, right? So now the doctor has a dilemma. What should he do? Now let's understand this from a doctor standpoint. See, it's a big myth that doctors are in on this. Okay, doctors become doctors because they want to do the right thing for the patient, and then the system of bad incentive takes over. They are even in a worse situation than the patient, right? Because the patient has to deal with the system once in 5 years. Doctor has to go and deal with this every day. He also has no choice. So let's take an example where, let's say someone like me shows up in the hospital and says, you need to do this. The doctor says, no, Varun, this is not right. I will not do it. And many doctors will fight for it. Okay. So what will we do? We have already spent 1,000 crores. We need the revenue. Otherwise, how will we pay the bank loans? So you have deployed capital. You need return on that capital for investors. So what are you going to do, right? So you have to let go of this doctor. But firing a doctor in a hospital is a master class in subtlety. Okay. So how do they do it? The hospital doesn't want to take a fight with the doctors also, right? They want to be respectful, which is the right thing. He's the doctor. So what they will do is that they will hire one more doctor in the same department. Okay. And transfer patients from reception to this new doctor who's under significant pressure again to do surgeries that the first doctor was refusing to do. Now this first doctor has got the message saying that, boss, you can't continue here. So what is he going to do? He is going to apply to other hospitals. Unfortunately for him, every hospital has this model only. So when he goes there, what many people don't realize is that the gatekeeper of a doctor in a hospital is the sales team. It's not the medical team.
Okay.
The medical team does a basic check saying doctor skills, documents, all that is in place. But the sales team will decide which doctor will get hired, right? Now, when the doctor applies to, say, hospital B, they will call the team at hospital A and say, well, why did you fire Dr. Sharma? Why is he applying here? What happened? So the hospital A sales team will say that, Dr. Sharma is a great guy. Patients love him. But, his conversion is only 6%, which means that he's taking patients outside the hospital. So this is a medical risk for us. So we don't allow it.
Which means he's taking patients outside the
Which means
hospital.
that patient requires surgery. It's below numbers. How can it be below the industry average? So he must be taking the surgeries to some other hospital.
So ये बस speculation है.
Of course, no one. Why would the doctor do all this? He's already in the hospital.
Correct.
Right? Patients already agreed to the surgery. Why would he do all this? So, but they can't technically say that commission. So they will say this. But the message received on the other end is this. That if you hire this guy, your conversion, OPIP won't happen. So then what will happen? They'll not hire this guy. So what is this doctor's option? His only option is to take a huge pay cut and join a small hospital or start his own hospital. Neither of which a doctor wants to do, which is a ridiculous choice, right? Imagine if every CA had to open his firm, or every lawyer had to open his firm, or every creative person's only option was to start his own agency, right? Of course not. This makes no sense. So this doctor also has EMIs. He has a life to live. He has kids' tuition. All this he has to pay. Not like it's cheaper for him just because he's a doctor, right? He pays retail price and everything. So how will he do all this? He also took 15, 20 years to become a good doctor, right? So there's a lot of that investment. His peers are making more money. He could have been a software engineer, made more money. So all this is happening in his life. And then there is a person saying, your entire life will end if you don't do this. What are you going to do? Right? So doctors and patients are equally stuck in the system, equally badly. In fact, I would argue doctors are stuck worse, right? So this entire thing adds up across doctors into the revenue for the hospital. Now, see, I appreciate why this model has become so prevalent. Okay, even though everyone started with the right thing, saying let's build high quality. Think of it like a consumer internet company. If someone told you that at 20% CAC, I will give you infinite scale, you will take it any day, right? If everybody does this, the patient has no option.
Correct.
People are not even debating wait times anymore. They're saying wait तो करना ही पड़ता है, ये तो normal है. बट ब्लिंकिट और जेप्टो में तो 7 और 9 मिनट के बीच में आप चेंज कर दो सर्विस. तो यहाँ 3 घंटे वेट करने के लिए क्यों रेडी हो? क्योंकि ऑप्शन क्या आपके पास? व्हाट्स योर ऑप्शन? यू आर लाइक ओके, आई रिजेक्ट दिस हॉस्पिटल, इट मेड मी वेट. ओके, वेयर विल यू गो? नेक्स्ट हॉस्पिटल फॉर 2 hours, 3 hours, whatever. So let's understand now why. So this is the broad business model. Now within this, because there is so much opaqueness.
Varun, एक सेकंड, इसको मैं समराइज कर देता हूँ. If I'm getting this right, this OP/IP conversion works somewhat like an edtech company giving out a webinar at 500 rupees, which is the doctor consultation.
Correct.
In that doctor consultation, in a webinar, you upsell another product for 5,000 rupees.
Yes.
Why? Because you spent a lot of money into marketing.
Yes.
And you want to recover that
Yes,
cost.
absolutely.
So you ask your customers to buy a product that is costlier.
Correct.
Now, in case of edtech, you can do this because you're offering a product which is far better, offering insights far deeper. But you're telling me that the same thing happens in hospitals also,
Yes.
where if I go to a doctor and tell him that I have knee pain, if the doctor says apply Volini and you'll be okay, that's actually bad for the hospitals.
Yeah.
So the doctor has to suggest something as bizarre as a knee replacement so that the hospital can generate more revenue.
Correct.
And the reason why this is important for the hospital is because the hospital has already put in 1,000 crores in capital. If they want to recover that, they need to generate revenue. If they have to generate revenue, they need doctors. So just like there is customer acquisition, hospitals acquire doctors because doctors help them acquire customers.
Yes.
And if there are 3 doctors with an OP/IP conversion, यानी कि छोटा कंसल्टेशन से बड़ा सर्जरी का कन्वर्जन, for doctor 1 is let's say 8%, doctor 2 is 10%, doctor 3 is 20%, then regardless of whether doctor 1 is giving out the right consultation or not, regardless of how much doctor 1 cares about the patients, doctor 1 will be let go simply because he is not generating profits.
Correct. 100%. That's exactly how it is. That's absolutely right.
And you're telling me that because every other hospital follows the same model, every other doctor is forced to be in the system itself. So this is basically capitalism gone wrong.
They have no choice.
And the beauty is, like you just mentioned, for large hospitals, hi-fi hospitals, because the insurance company is going to pay for the patient, the doctor after a certain extent will feel like, oh, I'm not taking this money from the patient. I'm actually taking this money from the insurance company, regardless of what happens to the health of the patient. It's okay. So I will make money, the hospital will make money, and the insurance company is paying for it. And the patient, well, economically, the patient is untouched.
Yeah.
But health-wise, the patient is messed up. And doctors eventually do not care about it because they can't care about it.
Yeah. I mean, I would not say that they don't care about it. I think, at least in my experience in the last 10, 15 years that I have been, in some ways in healthcare, doctors care deeply about all this. Okay. It's every single doctor that I know, and I know thousands of them and I spend a lot of time with them. They are deeply frustrated with this. The problem is there is no alternative for them. What are they going to do? See, think of it. Let's go back to your example of this whole OP/IP and all of this, right? So imagine that this doctor has now been forced to come in with this MG. Now, what else they could have done? So let's look at the doctor models. There are 3 possible models. Okay. First is this prevalent model, which is called MG recovery. Okay. MG recovery model is available to doctors where the hospital has high confidence that this doctor will generate revenue for them. So they're willing to lock in upfront with money. Then there is a model which is called fee for service or FFS.
Fee for service.
Okay, which means that there is no upfront guaranteed payment. Okay. You will get, for every patient you bring, I will pay you XYZ commission.
Can you give me an example?
So as an example, let's say I am, a cardiac surgeon, suppose, right? And the hospital is unsure how much volume and demand I can generate. Right?
Okay.
Because maybe I'm a new surgeon or they couldn't get validation or whatever XYZ reason. So what they will tell me is that, okay, cool, I will give you rights to come and do this surgery in my hospital, but I am not committing any upfront payment to you. If you bring 10 patients and generate this much money, I will give you this much commission.
But how will he bring in 10 patients?
Because the patient is already coming to him for consultation,
Okay.
right? So now let's say the doctor has a clinic somewhere and he has some ex-patient. Let's say a patient comes and says, okay, you need this stent, right? Now the stent has to be put in an OT, some operating theater.
Stent kya hota hai?
Stent is this thing you put for a cardiac blockage. When you don't have heart pumping, there's a blockage in the artery. So they will put a stent which will essentially expand the artery so that the blood flow can continue. Now, when you put that stent, it has to be put in a proper operating theater.
Okay.
So now the doctor is in a clinic. So he doesn't have an operating theater. So he'll go to a hospital for the operating theater.
Got it.
The hospital say, cool, you book the surgery. If you generate, say, 1 lakh, I will give you 20,000. If you generate 2 lakhs, I'll give you 40,000.
Got it.
Okay. But since I am not sure how many patients you will bring, I cannot commit to you saying that whether you bring or not, I will give you X money upfront.
Got it. So
Right,
there is
so
no minimum guarantee.
There is no minimum guarantee. You fee for service. For every service, I will give you a fee.
Almost like a commission model.
It is 100% a commission model. MG is also a commission model. It is just that I have high confidence. I'm willing to pay this upfront. Right? The third model, which they should actually be doing, is a full-time salaried doctor. Why would the doctor say no to that model? That is the model doctor would prefer.
Correct.
Where, like all of us normal people, we get a fixed salary at the end of the month. That's what should happen to doctors. I mean, think of it as a comparison to a tech company. Imagine if Ola or Zomato told their engineers, I will pay you for every line of code. First of all, they'll be able to hire 0 engineers. Number 1. Number 2, what do you think will happen to the code base? It will have as many lines of code as they can write because that's what their pay is dependent on. Right? Imagine further that these tech companies told their engineering teams that, hey, you know what? Your money depends on how many apps get downloaded. Then what is the marketing team doing?
Correct.
Right? So doctor in a healthcare system is the same as engineer in a tech company. But somehow the doctor has become the product, the engineer and the marketing guy. Why?
Correct.
This is, in my opinion, full abdication of all responsibility by the hospital teams. Right? It's the marketing team's job to sell a value prop. It's the hospital's job to actually build a value prop that brings patients. Right?
And it's the doctor's job to just treat
the
patients.
patients. Yes, I mean, sounds pretty basic, right? Like, I'm like, why it is not working like this? I am not understanding.
I mean, I thought that's how the world works.
Unfortunately, for patients and doctors, that's not true, right? And doctors are generally at the end of it. So anyway, coming back to that discussion we were having, right? So now this doctor is in the system. MG recovery is a revenue goal, right? So what will the doctor do? Now, the doctor is in the system now. He is being tracked on this on a daily basis. The operations team is coming and hounding him saying, what is happening? So now doctor also knows these data points. No. So he knows that if I see 100 patients in my OPD, 10% will require IP, suppose. But this is maths. Some day it could be 8, some day it could be 12.
Correct.
I need 10 total admissions a day. Patient could say, I am not sure, I can't afford it. I'll do a second opinion. All this can happen, right? But I have an absolute target of 10. So what will I do? I will do the only thing I can do. I can either see more patients in the OPD so that definitely there are 10 admissions possible, and or try to, bill more. Right?
This is for which model?
Any model, right? Especially in the MG model, right? So in a salary model, you're getting a fixed salary. So you're going to do the right thing.
So
right?
you don't really care.
You don't really care, right? You tell the right thing. Whether the hospital makes money, doesn't make money, is the hospital's problem.
Correct. An example of the same is an edtech company's sales team.
Right.
So if you have incentives for sales, what the sales team will do is they will try to sell the course to even those people who do not require the course in the first place. And that's what happened to a unicorn company that went bust, right?
Yes.
But if the sales team is incentivized only to educate the customers and give them 5-star customer experience, regardless of the sales, if they are paid a salary, they will not be incentivized to do the wrong thing. So you're telling me that doctors are acting as salesmen and not as doctors.
Yeah, doctors are really being forced into that here. It's quite bad. So doctor will, in somehow system will balance it out by saying, see more patients and or bill them more, which will happen at the billing desk, which is why your bill is never the same what they tell you.
Correct.
Right? Because the billing guy is going to do an assessment of saying how rich you look, what's the watch, where do you stay, they'll ask your address. And I mean, many patients would have experienced this, right? It has gotten so normalized, it just angers me. Okay. So you go to a hospital, let's say for all good reason you need a surgery. So you go to the hospital, you go to the billing desk. There is an estimate desk whose only job in their life is to give you an estimate for the surgery.
Okay.
They do this day in, okay, it's your first surgery as a patient, but they do this day in and day out.
Correct.
Okay. For someone who does this thing day in and day out, how can you get the estimate wrong every time?
As in what?
I don't know. So they'll say, okay, your surgery, knee replacement, is going to cost 2.5 lakhs.
Okay.
So you're like, okay, cool, you agree to the surgery. Bill will be 4 lakhs.
How?
Because that's what the bill is. Because they will explain to you saying, oh, you know, in the surgery this happened, in the surgery that happened, we had to add this extra, we had to add that. How will you know whether that happened or not? Whether that was required or not? You don't know. Right? But between then, they have all assessed that because your insurance package is bigger or whatever the reason may be, right? And because of that, your bill will go up. Right? Now, as a patient, like you said, if you're an insured patient, you don't really care. You're like, insurance is going to pay the money. I would actually, a side note, I would argue that even the insurance company is a victim of the same system because they also have no choice. They have to pay, right? Because you are the premium paying.
Which is why mis-selling happens over there also, no?
I mean, insurance companies are in really deep shit, dude, in my opinion, okay? They are paying out 90 to 100% of the premium as claims. There is a very real chance that if this continues in 5 years from now, we don't have an insurance system because why would you build a company where 100% of your revenue is going out as claims? This makes no sense. So anyway, a patient walks in, he's told this is the bill by an estimate desk whose only job is to give estimates. And the only thing that happens is the estimate is never what they say it is. But you are the expert at this, right? As the hospital, you should know exactly. Like, can you imagine you went to a restaurant and spoke to the chef and chef said, your meal is going to cost between 1 to 5,000 rupees. So like, dude, like I'm ordering a pizza, right? You should know. They cannot come and say, no, today we grated little extra cheese, so you have to now pay 50 rupees more. Makes no sense. Or let me give you another example. Let's say you take a flight and you go from Bangalore to Delhi. Okay, you paid Indigo 10,000 rupees. When they reached Delhi, there was fog. So they had to circle for 45 minutes. Okay. And when you landed, they told you that, oh no, you can't leave the plane because we didn't think about fog. So you can't leave the plane till you pay 5,000 rupees more. Will you accept it? No. But we accept this every day in the hospital because we are like, oh, maybe it was more. But it's his job to tell you how much it will cost, right? But the reason is not because they're bad at their job. It's actually because they're very good at their job on the billing desk, right? So they'll figure out how much they can charge you and then they'll charge you that. And in fact, it has even gotten systematized. Okay. So for every hospital in a relationship with an insurance company, they have tie-ups for rates and everything. For the same procedure, they will have two kinds of rates. Okay. One is called a package rate, right? Which says that if I'm doing this XYZ procedure, let's say an appendix procedure, then that appendix procedure will cost, say, 1.5 lakhs. And so you go, doctor says you need an appendix procedure, you get in there and it's 1.5 lakhs, insurance pay 1.5 lakhs, no matter what the hospital bills you. Okay. And between the hospital and the insurance company and the insurance desk at the hospital, they'll figure this out. Then they have for the same surgery, for the same hospital and the same insurance, they have something called open billing.
Open billing.
Okay. What open billing means is that when we went through the actual procedure, we found anomalies that we did not realize before. And therefore, this is a non-standard procedure. So obviously, we took more consumables, we took more time in the OT, we took more this, more that. So obviously, I can't do this within the package rate we had agreed. Okay. So now, the minute it becomes open billing, it is now at rack rates, you're getting billed for everything. Okay. Now, the incentive structure is such that if your bill was 2 lakhs, right, the commission is 40,000. If your bill is 5 lakhs, the commission is 1 lakh. And remember, the person is forced into an MG situation where they have to do MG recovery. So guess what your bill is going to be, right? Now, it's quite unfortunate that, we have reduced the healthcare providers to this, right? But the problem is the hospital already spent all this money, but they're not able to estimate this for this reason, right? And that's one way for you to make money in the hospital. Another way, there are so many things, right? Like, we don't even question it anymore, right? Why is the X-ray of your leg costing different from X-ray of your chest? How does the machine know which organ is in front of it? What is the cost of the X-ray, right? There is the machine, there is a room.
Kitna difference hai?
So that's what I'm saying, it varies wildly. Okay, so if you go to a diagnostic lab, it could be few $100 difference. If you go to a hospital, it gets more complicated because in a hospital, they have forget different body parts. The same X-ray will have different prices. So as an example, if you went to a hospital and got a test done, X-ray, MRI, whatever, there is a certain price. Let's say MRI is 5, 7, 10,000 rupees. Let's say. Okay. The same patient in the same hospital for the same body part does an MRI as an admitted patient.
Okay.
As an inpatient, it's 20,000 rupees. Okay. The same patient as an inpatient does an MRI in the same hospital for the same body part. Was in a twin sharing room versus a private room. The price difference is 3x between that. Why? It's like saying that I took a presidential suite in the hotel, so my naan is now 4 times more expensive. This makes no sense. But this happens. This is the model, right? And you will see this. And that's the reason why insurance companies cap room rates.
Oh.
Right? Because you show up in a presidential suite, now everything is 3x. Why? But the surgery took the exact same time. It's the exact same consumable. It's the exact same doctor. So why is it costing me 3 times more? Just because the room got changed. So what happens because of that? You will end up taking a twin sharing room.
Correct.
Twin sharing room is materially worse for you as a patient, right? Because imagine you just had surgery and you had someone else coughing next to you. Why do you want that? How is that better for you? It's not. It's a cost problem. Because it has been created that a single room is somehow more expensive. Would you share a room when you went to a hotel with some random stranger? Of course not. You're not even sick then and you're not willing to share. Why are you sharing this in the hospital? Why is the rate so wildly different between you in a twin sharing room versus you in a private room for everything that has nothing to do with the room?
Yeah.
And this is the norm. This is not an exception. This is the norm. This is the model.
But this is so scary.
It's insane. It's absolutely insane.
And you also told me something about people looking at your watch, your shoes and your clothes.
Yeah.
What was that about?
I mean, they will try and assess, right, how much money this guy has. Because remember, they have a revenue target. Everybody has a revenue target, right? So the billing guy has a revenue target, the estimate guy has think of it like this. Why is there an estimate desk required? Don't you know what a surgery should cost? What is the component of a surgery? There is a OT time, there's anesthesia, there is consumable, there is electricity, and there is surgeon, and there is a team of surgeons.
Correct.
Why does this change from one knee surgery to the next knee? It doesn't. It's the same.
So what do they exactly do? Do they have a look at your watch and give you a different rate?
See, I mean, it's a combination of things. Like they'll try and do an assessment.
Walk me through an example.
See, as an example, let's say you go to the estimate desk, right? They'll say, okay, what insurance provider do you have? So if you have an insurance provider, then it's a little bit easier because the insurance provider sets the rates, right? But then you could get into an open billing, non-open billing thing. But anyway, your insurance provider will manage that. Let's say you're a cash patient. Cash means you're paying on your own.
Correct.
Right? Now, huge negotiation will happen on that bill. First of all, typically your cash rates, right? Cash doesn't literally mean cash. It just means you're paying on your own. There's no insurance involved. Although in some cases people do bring cash. The cash rate generally is a lot higher than the insurance rate, right? At least 10-15% is higher because the insurances try to do a negotiated discount. Within that, now the cash rates have no ceiling, right? Like the rate can be whatever they tell you. How do you know what the rate is?
Correct.
If you go to any hospital's website today and you search, right, they will tell you these estimates that are public. The estimates for a procedure are something like 1.5 to 3 lakhs. Dude, that's not an estimate. That's a guess, right? Like, I mean, I could have guessed 1.5 to 3 lakh rupees lagega agar main bade hospital jaunga to, right?
Correct.
So now they're trying to gauge in the conversation saying, okay, what else could happen? What else could happen? What else could happen? Sometimes genuinely extra things happen. I'm not saying it's all bad, but through this conversation, there will be an assessment, right? Otherwise, why do you need an estimate desk? Why is someone sitting and there is a room called financial counseling.
Financial counseling?
For a guy who's paying cash. I'm like, why? They will explain to you why, what costs and everything. Okay. Then you will get an estimate. Then you can negotiate that estimate. Then it will come to a lower price, right? And so if you had an estimate, why is there negotiation in the estimate, right? So what is all this, right? This is like you're trying to buy a car.
Correct.
Right? And you're trying to have a negotiation. I mean, like you go to a hotel, there's a fixed rate, right? Like this is the rate, this is what it costs. You go to a restaurant, it's a fixed rate, right? That is not the case in hospitals because they're trying to constantly assess by various signals. Now, how well, how unwell, I don't know. But the outcome is that for the exact same treatment, you will see wildly different bills from the same hospital, which makes no sense.
So basically you're saying that if you're paying by cash, when you go to the hospital, look poor.
I mean, that might help. That might help for sure. Imagine someone is coming in with so much trust in the hospital saying, I think you will save my life. And the hospital is like, okay, how much money can I make here? Okay. Like, go talk to the people at the hospital, the ground unit teams, okay? And ask them how many of them would bring their own family to the hospital they work in. The answer will surprise you.
Really?
Yeah.
Have you done that?
I have been told this. So, when I used to work at that hospital, my wife had to go through a procedure. So, look, I am a brand loyalist, right? So I was like, why should I go to somewhere else? I will go to my hospitals. Then I was told by someone fairly senior saying, no, we don't do this well here. You should take him somewhere else. I don't bring my family here for this. I'm like, if you don't trust them with your family, why are you saying it's okay for someone else's family to do this? Like, this makes no sense. They're like, no, I go to this other hospital. They are better. They don't do all these things that we do. I was like, okay, that kind of sucks.
Hi guys, if you loved watching this clip and if you want to do a deep dive into the podcast, we've mentioned the link in the description. So click that link, watch that podcast and take notes. Thank you for watching and subscribe for more clips.